Hey everyone, I am joined by my friend Katherine Hubbard from Spotlight AR. They are a company I was just introduced to this past year. They did a wonderful presentation with a group of agencies that we are best friends with. And the content of that it nearly had me jumping out of my seat because it is so timely and so important. But I don't want to give away the ghost. Instead, I want to start with Katherine. Why don't you say hello, give a little download on you and Spotlight, and then we'll get into it.
Hey everyone, Joseph, thanks so much for having me today. Katherine Hubbard. I am Vice President of Services Delivery at Spotlight Analyst Relations. As the name implies, Spotlight is a firm that was founded to help B2B tech and professional services companies manage and accelerate their analyst relations programs. We've started to pivot in the past couple of years to be more about the B2B buyer journey holistically. Analysts are a major part of that buyer journey for B2B tech, B2B professional services. But in the digital age, with new millennial buyers coming up that are much more used to a self-guided buyer journey, I know we're going to talk about this too, Joseph, today. We're looking more broadly at all of the different influential touch points along the buyer journey and helping our clients optimize against those to help shape perception, to help reduce risk, and then accelerate stakeholder consensus through that buyer journey, ultimately in decision to close deals.
I love that. Yeah. And it's funny because when I saw it on the list of the agenda, I'm always interested in learning more about things I didn't know what it was going to be about. So I was there, I was ready to take notes, but I'm like, this may not be relevant to what we do. And then you were going through the deck, and then there was a slide about tech's role in today, and I would even say tomorrow's world of marketers, operators, finance, and the list goes on. And that's where I almost like knocked over my chair because I have been feeling it and I've been observing it firsthand where I see so many brilliant marketers that I love and respect on so many levels. I see them lagging so much with tech. And then I see it in other departments with people that I love and respect as well, where I start to scratch my head on two things. One, am I a carpenter that's only seeing nails? Because obviously we're in the digital space. Or is this truly something bigger that is negatively affecting brands and their growth? And I think what I saw in those slides was the latter. We're no longer in a world where marketing is just marketing. It's MarTech, it's FinTech, it's Ops Tech. Tech is no longer a department. It is an underlying need. And I think that's what I got from the presentation. So I would love for you to dive into that more in the study and the findings and how you're seeing it.
Yeah, and it really all started for us when we began to look at our portfolio of clients and really realized that in the advent of digital, along with that came digital transformation, obviously. But what that meant was this collapse of silos. If we're going to have to digitally transform to meet new buyers where they're at, it means new tools, new disciplines, new data, new platforms. And there was no one person really primed to own that. So what happened is exactly what you said. Tech is now part of everyone's job in a digitally enabled ecosystem. And it's changing people's remits. And it changed people's remits, quite frankly, without their permission, some of them without them even knowing that it was changing their remit. So now you have marketers who aren't just responsible for brand, but they're now responsible for ensuring that brand shows up consistently across multiple channels. They're responsible for ensuring that AI is helping to automate content, that they're leveraging all of the data they have to make campaigns personal and meet their customers. And then they have to measure it all because now more than ever, people want to know what we're getting for these massive marketing spends.
Yeah. And all those facets that you hit, I love because it really starts to trigger some also additional factors that are negatively affecting, I think, marketers, of course, because that's the world that I play in the most, but everyone else that's at the table that need to be at the table, unsiloed, working together. And so you mentioned some of the marketing things. It's this idea of the funnel as well, which has been disproven by Boston Consulting Group, McKinsey, and Google, just to name a few small brands that maybe no one's heard of. but like they've proven that the marketing funnel isn't real. It doesn't. People don't operate like that, and yet we're still talking top of funnel, mid funnel, bottom funnel, and all this other stuff. Now you layer on this tech, what's called anemic tech understanding, and you can see it. I think people are in a lot more hot water than maybe they realize. So with the study that you were pulling, you said you saw it within your own client base. Is there anything that you can divulge about how you went about collecting that data, the sources? How were you able to verify it, just for proof of concept?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So within Spotlight, we work with our clients. We also have an in-search research and intelligence team, because part of what we do is help to educate our clients, bring to bear insights about the market. So our philosophy is that any recommendation is triple validated. So we look across the open source web, we do win-loss analysis, we look at different pieces of analyst research, blogs, earnings reports, anything publicly available, and we essentially atomize, syntemize, score data at large, and then trend spot. So that's our methodology to ensure that when we spot a trend, it's not just, being said in an echo chamber over here, but it's something that is being validated cross-channel by multiple sources. And then those are the things that we then choose to elevate to our clients as trends.
That's great to know. Yeah, because sometimes I think these studies can be more the trend spotting, less the data backing it, which is what I was feeling like with me. I'm like, I think I'm seeing a trend here. I had no data.
Yes.
So that's why it was brilliant. Now, I presume you looked across industries, and this is, I'm very focused on the restaurant industry because, again, I see it and that's where I live. Are there any industries in particular where you saw this tech anemia, we'll use that term, more glaring than others?
You know what? That's interesting because it is industry specific, and it's industry specific not because of individual skill, but really because of systemic issues within those industries. And it's a slowness that, is typically driven by regulation or compliance that could hinder growth, legacy systems from older infrastructure that may be in place, budgeting, so smaller mid-market businesses or nonprofits, for example, and then also audience. So for some industries whose audience is predominantly older or less online, that advent towards digital or embracing tech typically isn't as high.
Yeah, so I would presume, if I read between the lines a little bit, like anything involving HIPAA or PCI compliance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so-
Healthcare, government, nonprofit, small business, insurance. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. It's funny because, in the echo chamber that we have here in the restaurant industry, I think we beat ourselves up a lot for being so behind and so archaic with tech. But I think that also comes because we look at symbiotic industries like hotel hospitality and airline, travel, as well as retail, which are all really advanced when it comes to tech adoption. But if we look back to non-symbiotic, like you just illustrated, healthcare, these things they're worse off. And we were stunted as an industry, not stunted, we were sprung into tech adoption because of the pandemic. All of a sudden our doors literally closed, and how are people going to get food? And I think that has done us a great service. And even though this is a little bit of maybe doom and gloom, because where we are with leadership and the tech deficiencies and anemia, but the opportunity is so big, like you said. Measuring, we can measure. Like you can actually measure the whole journey now. Yes. So this shouldn't be something that's like scary. It should be something like, whoa, we're there. Like we can do this and learn.
Have an opportunity with the technology and to create a tech infrastructure in a closed loop that actually proves their relevance and shows an ROI on what to many legacy business executives is vanity spend and vanity metrics. Now with technology, you have the opportunity to close that loop and track bottom-up funnel where impact is.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I think the V word, as I started calling it, it's such a bummer of a phrase because it actually strips out the importance of things that you do there.
Yes.
And I think when you look at Google's messy middle diagram, which was their, we'll call it an adjustment or maybe an evolution of the old fashioned marketing funnel, which
Hmm.
sidebar wasn't even a marketing theory; it was a sales theory for those
Yes.
that are following along. Um, so, of course, marketers, we love our things and we change them into lovely words and frameworks that make us feel more assured of success. But Google's messy middle is in fact messy. And the vanity metrics are so important for the explorative phase and even the evaluation phase. And we
And
don't see that transaction come out immediately, but they're in this like semi-infinite loop of exploration and evaluation. And if you're
exactly,
not,
that brand equity over time matters when it gets to an emotional or a point of sale moment, that which you have built up over time through large top of funnel spending and events, brand campaigns, brand awareness, it matters. It's very, very hard to track.
yeah. But then when you go to the finance people, they're
Exactly.
like, "Where's my money?" Especially the franchisees who, I mean, rightfully so. They want to see, they're paying anywhere from 2 to 4% of spend on an ad fund. Of course, they
Mhm.
want to see that back plus. And
Absolutely.
it's really hard to describe. Like, look, we're doing these things to build believability in what we're promising. So, like, it's one thing for Wendy's to say we never freeze our burgers. You got to show it.
Yes.
People are highly skeptical of brands these days, and the good news is with tech, you're able to start showing that in more and more places effectively on their grounds. Um, so in your either firsthand experience or in the research, what are some negative effects with the leaders who just aren't there and aren't getting there? Like what's the prognosis?
It's bleak.
It's like,
It's really bleak. And I think it comes back to, ultimately, if you're not embracing tech, it's going to be really hard to prove your ROI. And in these times, if you cannot prove your ROI, you're not going to be around for the long haul. I mean,
yeah,
hard stop.
yeah. And I'm feeling it and I'm seeing it. I
Yeah.
think we see CEOs and C-level execs come in and quickly eject, and maybe it's tech, maybe it's other things, but I think the tech is that thread, and I think that's what I really took away from the presentation is tech is the thread. It's no longer a nice to have or an asterisk. It's that foundational.
It
Um,
absolutely, and, beyond making it hard to attribute ROI, it also makes it without technology, it makes it hard to grow in meaningful ways because the underpinning of a really successful MarTech infrastructure is that data layer. And if you, especially in the restaurant industry, I have to assume you're sitting on a mound of first party data. And if you don't know how to segment it, how to govern it, how to activate against it in meaningful ways to identify, customers with potential really high lifetime value, you're also leaving growth on the table. There's just so much benefit to be realized from the data that you sit on activated through the tech infrastructure to fuel growth that you have to capitalize on it.
yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, the massive amounts of buying behavior that we see. There's also systems out there that are collecting data from other sources to really round out. There's a system called Bicky that's pretty ubiquitous in the industry that does on-prem as well as digital and combines them into fuller views of people. The problem, going back to I think that the tech savviness is, what do I do?
What do I do with it? Because there's an education gap for a lot of the folks that are in leadership roles right now. They can, myself included.
Mhm.
I didn't bring a laptop to class my whole time through college. A lot of leaders today are not digitally native, did not take courses around data governance, data activation, tech infrastructure, et cetera. So there becomes a lot of, well, it's not my problem. It's not my job because it hasn't been historically. And so they essentially are passing their fortunes on and trusting them with someone else who doesn't have their best interest in heart.
That's a great point. Yeah, the digital native world, and that whole generation, it's wild to see. I mean, I got the internet in my first computer when I was 15,
Yeah.
but that was late. I
That was
mean,
late. Yes.
my daughter plays, she's 3. She
Uh-huh.
can actually work the phone a bit, which is wild.
It is.
And so this is who we're trying to talk to as marketers. But
Exactly.
I don't want to just glom it solely on marketing, because what I see as well as marketing, there are times where marketing leaders are not the barrier to, let's make it rudely all about me, the digital experience and growing that. For instance, we might get buy-in from marketing, but then it's finance.
Mhm.
Why are we spending this?
Yeah.
Why this? So from your view, departmentally, do you think that there, are there levels that differ from, obviously tech is more tech savvy usually, but when
Yeah.
we look at operations, when we look at HR, finance, marketing, and then we can just say generic overarching leadership, president, CEO, stuff like that. Any ones in particular where you were maybe surprised, or you can just reinforce like it's really bad in this area?
That's interesting. I don't think I could paint it with broad strokes across persona or functional role within an organization. I think it does more come back to, again, it's not about the individual, so to say, it's more about the industry in which they sit. So not so much tech savviness by role as much as it is by an industry.
Yep, that makes sense. I was giving you an opportunity to dunk on finance people. It's fine. You do write the checks. Maybe we shouldn't. No, all the love. I mean, keep us all in line, and we appreciate it.
Absolutely. But I do think what's interesting though is when you think about tech spend, the MarTech stack is very bloated. And if it's something that a marketer or a tech person or someone in customer success has been, just been bolting on bits and pieces through the years, there can be a lot of bloat that does get the attention of finance. And that can be
Yeah.
a good opportunity to reconcile, a tech stack that was built not with an end in mind, but more as trying to plug holes as they came up, and to really rationalize what your buyer journey looks like, what your data layer is going to be, and then what is the solution that we need to move forward. So finance can be a good push to help us rationalize some bad investments that have been made through the years.
Well, that's a good note, because let's not beat ourselves up too much, is my takeaway
No.
there. Because what ends up
Yes.
happening with tech, just what a broad word at this point,
Mm-hmm.
it's innovating all the time. And
Yes.
so if you
Always.
have this system that takes care of maybe X, Y, and Z of what you need, 5 months from now, a new need pops up. This system doesn't have it already, but this
Exactly.
one does. So you pop it on. And so
Exactly.
I like, bloat's the right word. I always have to be dramatic. I call it death by 1,000 SaaS cuts, because that's
Love
really
that.
what it looks like. It's
Yes,
like,
it does.
I had a friend of mine, and she was like, you need to realize that by the time the base stack is put together for a restaurant brand, each location is in about $2,000 a month in SaaS.
It's insane.
Insane,
It's
and
complex, redundant, it's probably pretty poorly integrated.
yeah. Yeah. And that's why, I think I get excited for convergence and acquisitions that are actually merged well,
Mhm.
because we do need to start to see that congeal a bit more, and let the innovative things, be the straggler that you tack on. But eventually those innovations become table stakes that have to be baked in somehow. And I look forward to seeing that, especially for all of our friends in the leaders in the industry, because it becomes really tough to justify it. And it stymies you from actually trying the innovations, when it's like, gosh, I got to add another $100 a month just for this
Mhm.
trial on top of my 2,000 base. That's just,
Exactly.
it's crazy.
And it makes it so hard because, to our whole point about, yes, marketers need to get tech savvy, but what we have just been talking about is tech architecture and tech implementation, and marketers still have their day job. It is like, who can we bring along for the journey? It's
Right.
that tight partnership with the CTO, trusting and building up a good bench of third-party providers to help you navigate this, to help you make the right investments over time, so that you can focus on things that are going to drive value, drive revenue, drive growth through the tools, rather than having to learn a totally new discipline and managing and architecting the tools, because it's overly complicated.
Yeah, it's wild. You're talking about a tech department that has hardware to think about, on-prem
Yes.
wiring, like
Yes.
all the heavy lifting stuff, setting up point of sale systems and Wi-Fi. And I mean, this is where I hit the end of my road because what they do is amazing.
It
But
is.
then they also have to manage RFPs for tech partners
Yep.
if marketing's not going to do it, because there is a broader thing. And I think that's the big question, and you might not have an answer, but it's how do we like unsilo these departments, because tech is all of it. It's now foundational, just
Mhm.
as budgeting is foundational. Like you can't be a marketer and not manage a budget. Same thing with tech. How do we start to unsilo it so it works together, where we're not glomming all the responsibility onto the tech department because it's tech,
Yep.
and we're sharing it better? Have you seen that firsthand at all work well?
You know, yes and no. I think it's really dependent on business size, enterprise size, complexity.
Yeah.
What I've seen popping up a lot of places are like operations type roles. So, this within a sales team, you would have a revenue operations or a sales operations person. And part of their job is to manage the CRM, the sales tech stack. Same thing within marketing. The idea of marketing ops or a marketing
Mm,
technology owner. So it is someone who has more tech competency that's not in charge of writing campaigns, writing copy, deploying campaigns, nurturing customers. Their job within the marketing team is to manage the tech stack, because it's a full-time job.
yeah. Yeah, very much so, especially in emerging brands, which in the restaurant industry, we consider emerging brands anywhere from like 15 to 50 locations.
Mhm.
And then you get into small and then mid scale and then, of course, enterprise. And a lot of people see enterprise and they think they haven't figured out.
No.
No, me too.
No. They have so much legacy tech stack,
Yeah.
thinking about, we're not even talking software, we're talking hardware with us, with the old legacy enterprise brands. And those are massive ships that are really hard to turn and really hard to untangle.
Yeah. And that leads very well into another issue that I see related to this, but it is its own issue, which is this deadly combination of survivorship bias and confirmation bias.
Mhm.
So it taps in nicely. And so for those listening that are not familiar, survivorship bias is essentially looking at the big guys, looking at those who have survived, quote unquote, and essentially saying, well, whatever they did, it's the right way because look at where they are. And we're all guilty of it. If you want to be a bodybuilder, go look at a bodybuilder, but you're forgetting all of the details of how they got there and all the failures, all the successes, and even the market reality of the time when they started. Like take McDonald's as a very extreme example. McDonald's started in an era that is, it's the opposite of today at this point, with the way people operate, act, the things they do, what they have access to. And then you combine survivorship bias with confirmation bias. For those that don't know, it's when you have a theory and then you seek out only the data that confirms it, ignoring the data that maybe makes you question it. So have you found any data that points this trap in action? Have you seen it?
You know what? When we were talking about this session, I went out and looked at it. I haven't found any data specific to marketers. A lot of it was around finance. A lot of it was
Oh, interesting.
around venture capital, startups, this idea where We hear only about the unicorns and the Ubers of the world that make it, when in reality, what's the percentage? 50% of startups don't make it past 5 years.
Right.
But we only look at and promote the things that win. So there's this whole idea of, if we want to get out of these traps, awareness is one thing, but what are systematic and process-based ways we can build into our decision-making workflows with our peers, with our colleagues, to ensure that we're consciously taking time to ensure we aren't only looking at the data we want.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. Now we can take a dig at the finance people. Oh, again, kidding.
I won't
Don't give on a job I don't understand. I mean, at all, really. But it's, one of the biggest problems with survivorship biases is that it seems like the right path.
Mhm.
But sidebar, we live in an amazing world where I can just go onto AI and ask a question and get my answer immediately. And that just happened because my memory's shot. But I was thinking of the person that used failures to drive a better strategy and success to overcome an obstacle. And it was Abraham Wald in World War II.
Mhm.
And so during the war, the Allies were studying returning aircraft to figure out where to add armor.
Mhm.
And the obvious approach was to reinforce the areas that had the most bullet holes. And Wald famously said around this, you're looking at the planes that made it back. Reinforce the places where there are no bullet holes, because those are the hits that cause the planes to be lost.
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, a brilliant takeaway for us, is like, stop looking at the winners and start looking at the losers. What did they do wrong?
Yes.
Where did they not strip out that legacy? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, we don't want to do that. I think too, just culturally, and especially in business culture and at the executive levels, we elevate success and we hide failure.
Yeah.
And over time, what that does is it creates exactly what you're talking about. We have blinders on to what's coming up on our side. And we can't see clearly what's ahead of us because we've just decided to only look at what's going good rather than looking for the storm clouds that are coming.
Yeah, it's such a great point and a good reminder for everyone, because it seems so obvious looking back, as most things do, when you
Yeah.
hear that anecdote. It's like, well, of course. I mean, why would you armor where the bullets are for planes that made it?
They were fine. They made it back.
They're good. Those actually don't need reinforcements. You need to reinforce where the bullets didn't kill them and put them down. But I think it's a good reminder for the legacy system. Like, the legacy systems, they've been your workhorse for so long.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say that they're no longer effective because they've been so effective. But you've got to take a better look at that and say, maybe it's time to make that tough decision.
Mm-hmm.
And what I end up saying is, one of the other traps that I write about in my new book, shameless plug, is the convenience trap, where it's easier to keep the legacy system in place. Everyone's trained on it. They may have gripes, but it works. It's got you this far. In your day-to-day and what you've seen, do you have any thoughts on how leaders can overcome the bias loop, and how can they avoid the convenience of just tacking it all on because that's the easiest thing to do? Have you seen any wins there?
So hard, especially I feel like Spotlight's more in startup mode. So
Yeah.
we do a ton of this. In legacy and older organizations, it becomes really hard because norms are celebrated and what can be trusted and what is known is safe.
Mm.
And so it's almost like a mindset shift again, and moving into what's the worst thing that could happen if we kept things as is, and be really, really honest about what does catastrophic failure look like if we don't change. To be really aware of the worst that could happen, and then conversely, what's the upside if we do change? What does it look like initially? But I feel like typically we don't invest the strategic muscle to take the time to go down those exercise paths of what failure looks like and what success could look like if we did change, because it is just easier to stay where we are. And then two, just the idea of pivoting's good. I feel like persistence is oftentimes rewarded. It's good to be persistent. But at a certain point, abandoning a failing project can be a sign of unbiased decision making. Correcting sunk cost is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of a forward-looking vision that you believe on a data-driven way is going to pay off in the future.
Yeah, that's brilliant advice and or reminders for those that need it. The law of diminishing returns is the thing you have to recognize when you're there. And I'm reminded of, it's probably a comedy skit from the Three Stooges. I apologize. But, where someone's just like trying to pull this door open and it won't open. And then someone comes up and pushes it.
Yes,
Because it's,
exactly.
and it's sometimes that simple where it's like, you were persistent on getting that door open. You were just doing it the wrong way.
You're doing it the wrong way. And that's okay. And with that too, people don't want to fail. And if we've been on a legacy system and things are fine and they're not broken, personally, for a lot of people, there is more risk than reward to take the leap and move off of something known and to go into something known, even if it has a much higher rate of return or a much higher reward, because in doing that, there's also the risk of failure.
Yeah.
And so much organizationally, success is only, or like our talent, our ability is coupled with our success, not our effort,
Right.
not the failure, not the risks that we've taken. So it's very personal too.
Yeah. And especially when I think we're coming out of an era and an age where failures were openings for more, bad actors at the leadership tables or the leadership ladder to take you out. And I think we still have
Absolutely.
remnants of that
We
where
do.
we're so protective. We can't be wrong,
No,
you know?
because my job could be on the line.
That's
And
right.
that's a reality. That is a reality in some environments. And so I think it's important too to take inventory of what type of leadership environment are you in? Is
Right.
risk-taking rewarded? Is innovation valued? Or is status quo status quo? And in that point, you're going to have to weigh risk to reward.
Yeah, I would venture to say that sticking with status quo is guaranteed failure. Because, what we say to a lot of our clients and people that I know, like friends of mine that I talk with, is they're coming. The competition is coming for you.
Yes.
So what you're doing today, that's so awesome. That awesomeness is deteriorating. That competitive edge is deteriorating right now as we talk. It's deteriorating. And before you know it,
they're not just digitally enabled now. Any net new business today is not only digitally native, they're AI native.
absolutely.
And they are coming for you.
Yep. You better keep ahead of that race, make the hard decisions. And what it sounds like to me with the last two pieces of advice that you gave is it's a rallying cry for CEOs and folks that are at the top, even board members. Listen up, board members. You encourage taking calculated, smart risks to maintain a competitive edge and make sure that your people feel safe to do that, or you will be stuck. And we have an industry in the restaurant industry where we're so used to testing culinary. We're so used to testing a new POS system just at one location.
Like it's
Feasting it.
tangible too.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, this is repulsive or this is actually amazing. And
More immediately.
right. And we need to adopt that fail fast mentality in smart ways. Like, obviously we don't want to blow $1 million just for the sake of it because we thought a roller coaster on top of a McDonald's would be a good idea. They might be, but yeah, I kind of want to visit that location.
Fries and a Coke.
Yeah, you can keep all the Coca-Cola in. By the end of the ride, you get a prize as well. But yeah, it's a rallying cry from the top down and the bottom up to one, adopt, continue to learn. You can't rest on your laurels because, again, your competitive edge is going away by every second. You shouldn't be scared of AI. You should be. It's a new tool that you can leverage to do so much more than you were
Yeah.
ever able to. So we've talked a lot about the topics, but I want to spotlight because it's an amazing company. It was very interesting to me when you went over it. So I would love for you to take like 5 minutes and just download the nuances of what you do and why you got started. I think that would be good to know.
It's so interesting. So our founder story is that they were in a deal. It's going to date them because it was for JCPenney. It was the biggest deal of their lives.
I love that.
And they lost the deal. And the reason and win-loss as to why they did not win was that they were not in the Forrester wave for their particular capability. They didn't know what the Forrester wave was. They found out. Then they didn't know how to get in it. That's when they started to learn about analysts, realized there was an analyst relations function. There was no one they could find to do it, and there were no agencies they could hire to do it for them. So they saw the opportunity, took a risk, and founded their own analyst relations firm. And so we've grown over the past 13 years we now work with over 165 different brands across major enterprise players down to SaaS startups, agencies, consultancies, helping with analyst relations. Yes, because that's, a critical muscle. It's a really, really important function in a business for a marketing team, for a comms team. But our founders didn't start Spotlight because they cared about analyst relations. They founded it because they lost the deal. So again, what's at the heart of everything we do is how can we help our clients show it more credibly in the buyer journey, whether that's through the analyst channel, great, whether it's with their own customers through their own messaging to ensure that their messaging is consistent, that they're visible where their buyers are going to search, and that they are relevant to the market and that they are known in the market.
Awesome. So I'll ask the dumb question because I know there are probably some people listening that what is Forrester Wave and what is analyst relations?
Fair enough. So there's some major analyst firms. So there's Forrester, Gartner, IDC, Everest. They are firms that house industry analysts. The jobs of these analysts are to study markets. They're typically, digital tech-centric markets. So think cloud IT, think digital marketing agencies, think commerce service providers, think B2C commerce platforms. So the job of the analyst is to have a specialty. They study the market opportunity, the buyers in the market, the buying dynamics in the market, and then they go deep on understanding the strengths and weaknesses of every vendor that is selling in that market.
Wow.
So they're talking to vendors every day. They're talking to buyers every day. They're making recommendations to buyers every day about how this company is having a problem over here. They explain their problem. The analyst could recommend a set of solutions that could help their problem.
I love that.
And then we have big pieces of research that for, you're a commerce service provider, they will put out a wave where they rank by capability and their future vision, how each of the performers or vendors in that set show up.
That's amazing. It's a whole facet of the industry I actually knew nothing about. I've been in it for a while, so
yes,
it's great. That's amazing. So, Katherine, how can people connect with you?
They can email me. I would love to be emailed. I'm old school like that.
I love it.
Not weird that I prefer email.
It is. Good on you, man. Like I get more gray hairs thinking about it.
Please don't let email die. I love it.
I have a friend who I think today he works for an energy company, an energy drink company. He's like, yeah, I'm about to post a job description on LinkedIn. I'm like, oh, God bless your heart. Yeah. May the odds be ever in your favor. Yeah. And he's like, your inbox is about to get destroyed.
Bring it on.
I love that. All right, great. I will make sure that anyone that wants, feel free to reach out to me, and I will provide your email. I will not put it on LinkedIn
Thank you. I
publicly,
appreciate that.
but I will tag you on LinkedIn. And I appreciate you being so generous with your thoughts, your time, and everything that Spotlight AR is doing. Of course, I call it by its domain name. So everyone that wants to find Spotlight, go to spotlightar.com and definitely reach out to Katherine. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Joseph. It was fun.